welcome to another A-Level Computer Science video with me, Mr Goff, from mrgoff.com. This video will focus on higher order functions and lists in functional programming. As we noted earlier, a function is higher order if it takes a function as an argument or returns a function as a result, or does both. Three common higher order functions built into functional programming languages are map, filter, and fold. We're going to take a closer look at each of these now. Map is the name of a higher order function that applies a given function to each element of a list and returns another list. Map times 2 to the list 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, for instance, will return a new list where each element in the original list has been multiplied by 2. So you can see here in the output that the new list is 20, 40, 60, 80, 100. As well as being able to pass map basic mathematical and comparison operators, we can also pass it functions that we've defined ourselves. Filter is the name of a higher order function that processes a data structure, typically a list, in some order to produce a new data structure containing exactly those elements of the original data structure that match a given condition. So for instance, filter greater than 20 on the list 10, 20, 30, 40 and 50 would return a new list 30, 40 and 50 because those are the values that are greater than 20. Fold, sometimes called reduce, is the name of a higher order function which reduces a list of values to a single value by repeatedly applying a combining function to the list values. Fold L means to fold values from left to right, and fold R means to fold values from right to left. We can see in the example below that when we are using a plus as our combining function, it doesn't matter if we fold left or fold right, the result is the same. However, the same is not true when we're doing a fold left and a fold right using the divide symbol as the combining function. These will each result in different values. A list in functional programming is still a collection of values of the same type, for example, integers or strings. In functional programming, a list is made up of two parts, the head and the tail. The head of the list is the first item in the list. The tail of the list is a list consisting of the remaining elements. So the list 57238 has a head of 5 and a tail which is a list with the values 7, 2, 3 and 8. If we have a list with just one value, such as here where we have a string x or a character x, then the head of this list is x and the tail would be an empty list. We can apply head and tail to a list, and tail can be called repeatedly. For example, the head of the tail of numbers. If numbers is the list 57238, then the tail of numbers is the list 7238, and the tail of that is the list 238, and the head of that is 2. So the head of the tail of numbers is 2. The command null can be applied to a list and will return true if it is empty and false if it is not. So if we have a list, Bill, Bob and Ben, and we apply null tail names, then it will return false because the tail of names is Bob and Ben, and the tail of that would be a list with Ben in it, so it is not null. However, if we ask for null tail of names, well, the tail of names, as we saw, is Bob and Ben. The tail of that is a list with just Ben, and the tail of that is an empty list, so null would be true. Prepending to a list means adding items to the start of a list to create a new list. You can add individual elements using a colon, or you can add a list using 2+ symbols. You can see the result of each of these methods below. Appending to a list means adding items to the end of a list to create a new list. You can add another list with one or more elements to the end of a list using 2+ symbols. You can see this in the example below. That brings us to the end of this video on higher order functions and lists. Join me again soon when I'll be taking a look at the consequences of computing. Use the resources at mrgoff.com to help you revise computer science, and until next time, it's bye for now.